It's hard to believe it's completed. I am tickled to death. As I told Mark, the handyman that helped put this up, I have wanted a greenhouse probably since I was about 14 or 15 years old. I've always loved gardening, so it's so nice to see this thing up. Those black things are called tie-down straps. That's to keep the wind from damaging the roof. And of course, here on the end, there's the handle, and we have the sides actually rolled up on both sides. Without that, it's like a sauna in there, but that allows the air to flow. This is the back side, and it's fairly tall. We did decide to put storm doors on this thing. And look at the space in here. Can you imagine? This is just awesome. Absolutely wonderful. And of course, we have the other side rolled up. I am going to have the electrician put electricity down here to it. I'll probably put outlet box attached here, or perhaps maybe more towards the center and on this board here. But my next step, which is my process, is to go ahead and get some beds started in here. I actually am intending to try the first year to raise crops in the ground. Now, this has been run over time and time again with a great big bulldozer to level it out and pack it down. So it's going to be quite a process of getting those beds actually dug up. And of course, I plan to put a lot of compost in it, and I'll put some sand in it so that it drains well. But I really think I can grow some winter crops. And that cat there you don't see very often. He's very, very old. My father-in-law died of cancer several years back, and he had had this cat for a long time. The cat's blind in one eye, and I don't think he can see very well out of the other. But I rescued him, and it's untelling how old he is. If I were guessing, I'd say he's probably about somewhere between 15 to 18 years old. But he still follows me around just like a puppy would. He's a good boy. And this is what it looks like inside. And I have seen a lot of YouTubers tie to those central beams and hang down strings to grow tomatoes and cucumbers. I don't know that I'll be doing that, but I have that opportunity here. Today's October the 10th, and if you can see, I'm hauling fill to put into my raised bed. I'm excited. That little Vigo bed, to fill it up, was going to take about 48 cubic feet of potting soil. And I'm trying to do that with a bit of a budget. So, a cubic foot of good potting soil is going to run me about $3 a cubic foot. And that's for the cheap stuff. The more expensive stuff is a lot more. So I bought a truckload that's 8 scoops of sifted topsoil. I will be amending that. I'm also going to be putting some of my compost here. This is leaf mold. They don't sell it under leaf mold. Nobody wants to buy anything entitled mold, so they sell it as leaf compost. But if you look it up, it's actually composted leaves are called leaf mold. And I've got quite a bit here, so I'll be mixing a lot of that in. That'll add a lot of organic matter to it. And then I do have some other things that I want to add to it. I want to add quite a bit of sand to it because I want those beds to drain. I don't want them to sit there and be boggy. I knew that the soil could run out, so I have a lot of this rough grind that I use actually for putting on top of cardboard in my aisleways in the garden to prevent weeds. But I'm putting about 4 inch of it in this. And yes, that's an airplane. I do live close to the airport. I am putting that in there simply to help hold the dirt to keep it from washing out at the bottom. I'm looking forward to getting this project completed and some of my plants in this Vigo raised bed garden. First load's going to be a cart full of just the sifted topsoil on the bottom. The first 2 layers of what I'm going to call my lasagna bed are in there. So I now have about 3, possibly in some places 4, but mainly 3 inches of topsoil on top of that 4 inches of rough grind wood mulch. Now it's time to work in some sand in that layer of just sifted compost. I don't want it too sandy, but I do want to work a layer of sand into that topsoil. This is also giving me a chance to level this layer down. So I'm glad to get some sand in it to help with drainage on that water. I don't want it just to become a great big mud pie. I want things to grow in it and there be enough drainage possibilities in it for everything to just drain right on through. Okay, now for my next layer, I'm going to put a layer of the leaf compost or leaf mold, whichever you want to call it. All right, here we have our next layer, and as you can see, this stuff is full of what we refer to as night crawlers, and I'm very happy to have them in the soil. They won't eat the roots of the plants. They'll eat that decaying matter there in the leaves, and they'll add a lot of what we call worm castings, which is just worm poop. Just a fancy name for it. Sounds a little better. Let's add this next layer of lasagna, the leaf mold or leaf compost, whichever you prefer, on top of the layer that's there now. Now I'm gonna went and got a couple of boards. I'm gonna scotch these tires. I'm tired of this thing rolling as I'm working on it. case you're not familiar with the term scotch, it simply means to bind it so that it won't roll. Every time I'd go in to get more compost, my cart was trying to move off and leave me. Right here and work that in a little bit better. Nothing improves the soil as well as good organic matter. And this leaf mower, I'll have to say, is superb organic matter. Time to work the last of the sand in. I have to say, the topsoil's definitely heavier than this other. Now all I'm doing now is just putting fairly light coating the topsoil on this. And I'll take my fork and mix that in as well. I know this is going to sink down. I'm not going to get on there and step on it. I don't need to. But right before I go to plant my plants, I'm going to work some amendments into the soil, some organic fertilizer. Okay, I've got my bed filled, and if you will notice, I've taken a permanent marker and I've made marks that are 6 inches apart. The reason I did the 6 inches apart is I'm going to do square foot gardening, of course, in this bed, and on the opposite side, they match up perfectly. So I also took just a 1x1 here. Actually, I'm sorry, that's a 2x2. And I have marked every 6 inches on that. So I can simply start like right here with this first one. And I know exactly now where to put my little plants. I'm glad to have the bed filled. If you notice, there's less perlite on this end than on this end. It's 2 different companies. I'm just using what I have. So I'm now ready to get started in planting this first bed. I have, as I said, I've layered all of this stuff as you would a lasagna. Then I've stirred it up with my fork, and it's ready for the first planting. I'm a little bit excited. My plants are in good shape. Let me show them to you. Okay, there my lettuces are out here. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take my dibbler and make spots for the first row of lettuce. Looks like the roots are doing very, very well. See if I can get these out without tearing them up. Okay, there's a second one right there that we're going to go ahead and separate. Take my finger, make that hole just a little larger. Push that dude down in there. Let's do the same thing with this one right here. I believe it'll be fine. Push the dirt up around those roots, and away we go. This one's got 2. I should gently be able to separate those. This is solar flare lettuce, and I'll have to say I bought this seed the first time from Baker Creek Seeds, and I've bought it every season. I've made sure I've had plenty of it because it has such a sweet flavor, and as it matures it gets that reddish color to it. Yeah, I don't like dropping that one, but it ain't going to hurt those roots. There again, I have an extra one. So we're going to plant it separately. Let's move up to the next row. And start our holes. What the heck, I'm going to put one right over here on the very edge because I want to, well, I better put it over here where it matches the others. It's a little close, but, and then it looks like I've got another one coming up, but I should be able to tell what it is. All right. Now, I'm going to water those in. Okay, I'm going to water these in. There is a weak fertilizer in this. The water helps the dirt settle in around the roots as well. Now, the soil is fairly moist already, but I definitely want to add just a little bit of water directly around the plant. As I said, I believe that will help with the soil. I believe that'll help the soil pack in around the roots a little better. there should in 4 weeks time be plants here to be harvested, or at least some leaves that I can harvest. Today is the 11th, so that would be about sometime between November the 10th and November the 15th. This stuff should be ready to harvest. Lettuce is something that grows fairly quickly. I've put my little fiberglass rods in there, and I'm going to go now and get a piece of insect cloth to go over it. Not that I'm expecting there to be a problem with insects, but I have 2 cats and these sides are open. They're going to look at that and the cats are going to say, oh, look what a big litter box we have. So let's just keep them out of it. I don't want them tearing up my plants. All right, I finished the first raised bed, and I want you to look. I barely put a dent in that. There's still about half of it left. But I now have the insect cover over it. As I said, I don't think there'll be any pressure from a lot of insects, but that'll keep the cats out of it, because my cats are going to think that's just one great big gigantic litter box that Daddy fixed for them.